Okay, Manifesto for Utopian Art. For context, this is going to be a little bit of a change of pace because I am not a spec fic writer. More power to everyone in the room who writes that. You're awesome. But that's not me. I wasn't going to submit something. I originally wasn't going to submit anything, but then we didn't have a lot within like 4 days, so I was like, oh, I can put something in. Anyway, I shouldn't laugh because otherwise that would do that. Okay. This is a manifesto for utopian art. Bit of a dramatic title. Several months ago, I came across a video on my Instagram feed referring to a particular pop star as a fundamentally utopian artist. The validity of such a claim in relation to said pop star is debatable, but this video did start me thinking about the concept of utopian art in general. What might that mean? What works might fit into the category of utopian art? And most interestingly, why wasn't it a category I had considered before? Dystopian storytelling, which linguistically speaking would be the opposite of utopian storytelling, is after all a widely accepted and discussed genre, albeit quite a new one in comparison to most other genres. Texts like 1984 and Brave New World are considered the founders of dystopian art, paving the way for the explosion of dystopian novels which followed the release of the Hunger Games. In the 2010s, people became obsessed with stories about gritty, grayscale, totalitarian nations, where a tenacious but emotionally repressed, that is, conventionally masculine, teenage girl would fight the arbiters of power while two boys fought over her. This fad came and went rather quickly in the grand scheme of things, but there's almost never been a fad for utopian art in a similar way. And I have to ask myself why. There's always been tension in our culture regarding the purpose of art. Is art meant to teach us lessons about how to be upstanding good people? Is art meant to reflect society in a way that makes us ask questions, even if the answers can't be found? Or is art meant to be pure escapism from today's troubles? In the early days of the novel, it was viewed as a fundamentally escapist, superficial form of art, in contrast to what were known as conduct books, essentially non-fiction which instructed people about the morals of the day. Riveting, I know. There was a period where people viewed movies and TV as superficial forms of art, and longed for the days when everyone read books, whenever those days were. Now we are in a period where social media is viewed as a shallow escapism. There will always be this division, I believe, because people do approach art looking for different things. Some want a way of understanding their life, some want answers to questions that plague them, and some do want escapism. The first time I remember encountering this tension regarding the purpose of art was when I was studying drama in high school. The teachers would consistently choose plays for us to perform about bleak topics. In Year 9, we performed a play about Australians in the Second World War. In Year 10, we performed a play about a mid-2000s primary school hostage crisis in Russia. Some people were better at the Russian accents than others. In Year 12, we watched and analysed the classic Greek tragedy Medea, whose ending, which I won't spoil, left me floored and required me to spend multiple days processing the sheer horror I had just witnessed. Art very, very rarely does that to me. Also in Year 12, we went on a field trip to Brisbane to watch the stage adaptation of Trent Dalton's Boy Swallows Universe before I had even read the book, so all the plot points were shocks to me. I still remember buying a giant rainbow lollipop from the South Bank shops beforehand, and my teachers laughing at me about how absurd it was for someone to bring such a giant rainbow lollipop into Boy Swallows Universe. My mother, whose catalogue of beloved films is primarily Disney, Pixar, and Barbie, was disturbed by this. "Why do they always choose such depressing plays for you?" she asked me over and over again. "Why can't you study something more uplifting?" I've experienced this to a lesser extent throughout my writing degree, but there is definitely a potent sense, lingering in the air as we walk around campus, that the best art is the most depressing. In our cohort, we all quote to one another a lecturer who said, "Trauma is the best inspiration for art." But for every lecturer lauding trauma-based writing, I see a student wanting to experiment, creating a whole new world in their heads that the rest of us couldn't even imagine, yearning to put words on a page that will make people laugh and smile more often than cry. Is that so shallow an aim? When I reflect, I think the truth lies somewhere in the middle. Constant depressing plays were not probably awesome for us to perform as teenagers, but at the same time, I do believe one cannot live on Disney, Pixar, and Barbie alone. When I consider my personal favourite pieces of art, they are the ones that strike a balance, engaging with the real issues of the world, giving them the depth that they are due, but also leaving me with hope that these issues might change. Of course, utopian art is perhaps a smaller subcategory of optimistic art. Not all stories with hopeful endings depict a utopia. If you were to ask me the first author who comes to mind when I consider utopian art, I would name Alice Oseman, creator of Heartstopper and writer of the novels Solitaire, Radio Silence, I Was Born for This, and Loveless. Heartstopper has copped a lot of negativity from some parts of the gay male community for being unrealistically sexless, clearly these people are not up to date with the webcomic, and unrealistically light-hearted. I actually see such a view as kind of envious. Parts of the gay male community are hypersexualized, since we spend so long unable to express love publicly, we have to resort only to the most private thing, and have been embroiled in suffering for decades upon decades. To see two boys cuddling each other with nothing but love, no sense of fear, the way straight people always have, actually sparks envy. For more on this topic, I can recommend the YouTuber ContraPoints and her video Envy. It's really interesting. However, the claim that Heartstopper does not engage with serious issues will never be valid. Charlie has an eating disorder and self-harms. Charlie and Nick experience homophobia. Charlie experiences extreme bullying. If anything, Oseman's novels are much darker. Their work depicts abusive households and Radio Silence, and also in the side flow of Heartstopper. Friendship breakdowns and Loveless, and mental illness in essentially all of their work. People just think it's light and fluffy because it actually bothers to show how someone might live a fulfilling life and move forward and grow from negative experiences instead of just lingering in that negativity. This, honestly, is the sort of art I am most inspired by and to which I aspire. Alice Oseman, Becky Albertalli, Trent Dalton, that sort of person. Plunging as deep as possible into the issues of the world and still finding the strength to emerge in a utopia. Thank you. Thank you. I hope you could hear me. I feel like I was cutting out. I am not big with microphones. Thank you. Oh, thank you.
Cool. Can we give another round to David, please?